The Ravens are in a tough spot right now, and you can feel it when you watch them play. The expectations for this team were high at the start of the season, and yet here they are, struggling to maintain consistency. Particularly along the offensive line, the spotlight has been harsh, and not without reason. Because it has been painfully obvious that protecting Lamar Jackson has been a major problem all year. In his most recent games, Jackson has faced constant pressure. And it seems like every week, there is a different story with the offensive line. Harbaugh's comments have shifted from suggesting that rotations and playing time might change to now clarifying that the plan for certain players is fixed. It is clear that there is an attempt to find stability, but with the current line, stability has been hard to come by. The signing of Lake and Tomlinson to the practice squad was a move that created a little buzz. And while Harbaugh appeared excited about adding them to the roster, the reality remains that the offensive line is the biggest vulnerability on this team. It is difficult to place all the responsibility on one player, like Ari Jones. But with the way things have unfolded, the media and fans alike are focusing their attention there. Comments from analysts have not been kind, highlighting the lack of cohesion and the reactive nature of some of the linemen. The embarrassment is palpable, and it is not just a small part of the team, it affects the entire offense. When you cannot protect your quarterback consistently, the possibilities for a productive game plan shrink drastically. And that has been the Ravens' challenge. Looking at the recent losses, especially the one against the Steelers, the picture becomes even clearer. The game was monumental for playoff implications, and the Ravens came up short. Their division record now stands at 2 wins and 2 losses, while Pittsburgh sits at 3-1. This disparity matters greatly in the AFC North, where only the division winner seems likely to advance to the postseason. The Ravens find themselves in a position where every game is critical, and yet the inconsistency, particularly in offensive execution, is costing them. The contrast in quarterback performance is stark when you consider how Aaron Rodgers managed to stay upright with 0 sacks while Jackson faced relentless pressure. It is a reminder that if the offensive line cannot improve, the team's ceiling is extremely limited. The losses against both Cincinnati and Pittsburgh have also emphasized another issue: the Ravens' slow starts and lack of offensive rhythm. The offensive line has struggled all season, and while adding new players might bring hope, it remains to be seen whether they can truly make a difference. Lamar Jackson's mobility has been key in previous seasons, but even his exceptional athleticism cannot fully compensate for the gaps in protection. Meanwhile, opponents like Aaron Rodgers have demonstrated how effective a well-protected quarterback can be. Even in their later career stages, the lesson is clear: if the Ravens cannot consistently protect Jackson, they will continue to struggle against top-tier defenses. On the media side, Daniel Flea has been getting more attention nationally, and this scrutiny shines a light on the offensive line's deficiencies. Analysts have commented on the reactive nature of the linemen, noting that they often have to respond to the play as it unfolds rather than executing pre-planned protection schemes. This lack of proactivity has created embarrassing situations on the field, and it seems that fans, players, and even coaches are frustrated. The upcoming primetime games in weeks 16 and 17 will put this offensive line under even more scrutiny. And if the same issues persist, the Ravens' chances to compete at a high level will be severely limited. Looking ahead, the Ravens face the Bengals in a rematch, and key storylines will be the offensive and defensive matchups, especially considering Joe Burrow's return to form. Burrow has shown that he can elevate the Bengals' offense, and when combined with players like Jamar Chase, the Ravens' secondary and pass rush will be tested. It is a situation where the pressure on the defensive line is as intense as the pressure on the offensive line. The Ravens will need to bring their best, because if Burrow has time in the pocket, the Bengals can exploit even the smallest gaps in coverage. The Ravens have historically used aggressive blitz packages to disrupt quarterbacks, but facing someone as precise as Burrow means that timing and execution must be flawless. Otherwise, the Bengals will find ways to convert critical third downs and extend drives, putting additional strain on an already struggling offense. For the Ravens' offense, the absence of key players like T. Higgins in the Bengals lineup is another storyline. While Jamar Chase remains a threat, other supporting players will have to step up to create opportunities. The balance between pass protection, quarterback mobility, and execution of offensive plays is delicate, and any failure in one area can lead to disastrous results. It is a challenge that the coaching staff must address week after week, and with each passing game, the margin for error becomes slimmer. The key will be whether the Ravens can keep Jackson upright long enough to make plays, and whether the defense can create opportunities to shift momentum. The losses and inconsistencies have made it clear that Baltimore's season is at a crossroads. Falling below a .500 record this late in the year is a blow to morale and playoff hopes. The division remains competitive, and even though the Ravens have talent on both sides of the ball, the gaps in execution, especially in protection and pass rush, continue to hinder them. It is a reminder that in the NFL, small weaknesses can become enormous obstacles. Each game is a test of strategy, skill, and endurance, and the Ravens will need to address their offensive line issues if they hope to compete in critical matchups against top teams like the Bengals and Bills. Without improvement, the season could end far earlier than anticipated, leaving both fans and players frustrated with what might have been a promising year. The pressure extends beyond just individual performance. The coaching staff and personnel department face scrutiny for roster decisions and how they manage player rotations. Every signing, release, and practice squad addition is examined under a microscope, and when results do not follow, the criticism is amplified. In the case of Carl Lawson, for example, questions remain about his role and whether he can have contributed to improving the pass rush. Decisions like these can have ripple effects, and when combined with injuries or underperformance, the team's ability to execute at a high level diminishes. The Ravens' path forward is contingent on making the right strategic adjustments while getting maximum output from the players on the field. Each game is a puzzle of talent, timing, and execution, and Baltimore is still working to find the right pieces. Offensive consistency remains a significant challenge. The contrast between the Ravens' offense and their opponents' efficiency has been stark. Against the Bengals and Steelers, slow starts and turnovers have created insurmountable deficits early in games, while the Ravens have moments of brilliance. The lack of sustained execution undermines their potential. The balance between explosive plays and fundamental execution is delicate, and any lapse can swing the momentum to the opposing team. Coaches stress the importance of preparation and adaptability, but in the heat of the moment, execution on the field is what ultimately matters. As the season progresses, the margin for error decreases, and the Ravens must find ways to overcome their limitations, particularly in the offensive line, to remain competitive in the playoff race. As the Ravens prepare to face the Bengals once again, all eyes are on the key matchups that could determine the outcome. Joe Burrow's return to form has been undeniable, and his connection with Ja'Marr Chase remains one of the most dangerous duos in the league. The Bengals' offense, when clicking, has shown the ability to dominate games with a combination of precise passing, aggressive route running, and intelligent adjustments at the line of scrimmage. For Baltimore, the challenge is twofold. First, to generate a pass rush capable of disrupting Burrow before he can find open receivers. And second, to maintain coverage long enough to prevent those quick completions that stretch the field. It is a delicate balance, and with the Ravens' pass rush still inconsistent, the responsibility on the secondary grows heavier each week. Marlon Humphrey will undoubtedly face one of his toughest tests of the season. Chase has consistently exploited coverage, and while Humphrey has had success in pass matchups, the pressure to perform in back-to-back high-stakes games cannot be underestimated. The Ravens' defensive scheme will need to adapt, mixing zone and man coverage to keep Burrow guessing. But the margin for error is slim. One breakdown, one missed assignment, or one failure to generate pressure could swing the game entirely in Cincinnati's favor. It is a challenge that extends beyond individual talent. Communication and anticipation must be flawless, because Burrow is known for capitalizing on the smallest defensive lapses. The intensity of this matchup will reveal whether Baltimore can rise to the occasion or continue to struggle under pressure. On the offensive side, the Ravens are tasked with protecting Lamar Jackson against the Bengals' front that, while not impenetrable, is disciplined and aggressive. The offensive line's ability to hold up will directly impact Jackson's decision-making and confidence. When he has time in the pocket, Jackson is at his best, extending plays and finding receivers in critical moments. Without consistent protection, however, the offense becomes reactive rather than proactive, and the risk of turnovers increases. Every snap carries significant weight, and the offensive line must rise to the challenge if Baltimore hopes to compete in what promises to be a fast-paced, high-pressure game. Jackson's athleticism can compensate to some extent, but even the most mobile quarterbacks cannot escape pressure indefinitely, and the Ravens' margin for error is shrinking as the season advances. The dynamic of the Bengals' offensive line is another factor. Burrow has been protected well over the past 2 games, allowing him to operate comfortably even under blitz pressure for the Ravens. Breaking through that protection will require creative blitz schemes, timing, and precision in execution. Draymond Jones and other pass rushers will need to win individual matchups consistently, because sending pressure and failing to reach the quarterback only allows Burrow to capitalize on the empty space in the pocket. The interplay between pressure and coverage is critical. If the Ravens' defensive line cannot disrupt timing, even perfect secondary coverage may not be enough. It is a test of coordination, athleticism, and mental toughness. And the Ravens' ability to execute under these circumstances will be a true measure of their readiness for the playoffs. The storyline extends to other offensive contributors as well, with T. Higgins out. The responsibility falls on Yamar Chase and supporting receivers to create separation and exploit coverage weaknesses. Players like Tanner Hudson have shown flashes of playmaking ability, but the consistency needed over 4 quarters is demanding. The Ravens secondary will need to account for all potential threats, while simultaneously supporting the pass rush, which further complicates the defensive game plan. Mismatches can be exploited instantly by a quarterback like Burrow, who reads defenses with precision and adjusts plays at the line of scrimmage. Baltimore's coaching staff must anticipate these adjustments and respond in real time, or risk falling behind in critical moments. Turnovers remain a pivotal theme in this matchup. Both teams have shown that while they are capable of explosive plays, mistakes can be costly. The Ravens, in particular, have struggled to overcome turnovers, and any interception or fumble could swing momentum decisively. Ball security will be paramount, especially for Lamar Jackson, whose improvisational style can create both opportunities and risks. Similarly, forcing mistakes from Burrow could shift the game in Baltimore's favor, but it requires disciplined, aggressive defense executed at the highest level. The interplay between offensive execution and defensive pressure will define this game, highlighting both the strengths and vulnerabilities of each roster. Special teams and situational football are also significant. Field position, red zone efficiency, and third down conversions have repeatedly influenced the outcomes of tight games this season. For the Ravens, maximizing these opportunities while minimizing mistakes will be crucial, particularly given the high stakes of this late-season contest. Every yard, every play, and every decision carries amplified importance. The coaching staff must manage these situations carefully, balancing risk and reward to give their team the best chance to compete against a well-coordinated Bengals squad. Execution under pressure, both physically and mentally, will be a decisive factor in determining which team emerges with a win. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. The NFL world woke up to a jolt of electricity as a surprising rumor began circulating through front offices, fan forums, and late-night talk shows. The Baltimore Ravens are said to be on the verge of bringing in British defensive sensation EFE OBADA from the Commanders. No press release, no formal statement. Just a sudden wave of whispers rising from inside league corridors, and as often happens, those whispers have quickly turned into full-blown speculation. According to people close to the situation, the Ravens have been quietly monitoring OBADA for months, intrigued by the rare blend of size, speed, and untapped potential he carries. The team's interest, insiders claim, intensified after internal evaluations suggested he could be the missing disruptive force in their already aggressive defensive rotation. Some even insist that Baltimore coaches have been enamored with his relentless motor and international background, viewing it as a chance to add not just a player, but a story, something the organization has always valued. Meanwhile, in Washington, the mood reportedly shifted from casual confidence to nervous curiosity as murmurs about the Ravens' pursuit gained traction. OBADA has long been considered one of the Commanders' most intriguing depth pieces, a player capable of flashing brilliance in key moments. Losing him would raise questions about the team's broader defensive strategy, especially with key roles still unsettled. Fans on both sides have already begun shaping their own narratives. Ravens supporters dream about a ferocious new edge presence emerging in purple and black, while Commanders loyalists debate whether the front office can afford to let a versatile defender like OBADA slip away. Social media has only poured gasoline on the fire, with clips of his best plays resurfacing as if to signal that something big is indeed brewing. For now, no one seems willing to speak on the record, and the league remains in that tense, electric silence that often precedes major movement, but the buzz refuses to die down, whether this rumor proves to be smoke or fire. One thing is certain, the mere possibility of EFE OBADA landing in Baltimore has already captured the imagination of fans across the country. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.